Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the iACast. All right, I'm Michael Doise, and welcome to another episode. This is episode 202. We've been going for quite a while now, and I've got another great group of folks with us this time. As usual, we have Michael Babcock with us. Hi, Michael.
Can you say usual when I only show up like every 5 episodes or something?
Well, considering our next guest, who has been on before, but it's been a very long time, we
Okay.
have Ashley Coleman back with us. Hi, Ashley.
Hello.
Yeah, I think it's been over 100 and something episodes, a long time since you've been on, so it's great to have you back.
Yeah, at least 5 years.
Yeah,
So glad
at
to be back.
least. At least that long, yeah. So we're back. Time for, another episode of the iACast. It's a new year and new predictions and, new tech to come out. We already know some things are going to come out, but it's interesting because there's been a lot of tech news at the end of the year. I mean, huge amount of tech news, and it just never stops these days. I feel like it's just something going on or something changes or I feel like we need to report on some of these things. But I think one of the biggest things that's changed, that at least in the AT area, that's going to affect a lot of people, is the applications key changing to the Copilot key. Michael, what are your thoughts on this? Because I think it's kind of crazy myself.
I I am not as upset as a lot of other users are about it because I primarily access Windows from a laptop, which typically doesn't have an applications key. So I've already found workarounds to that problem, but I also understand the frustrations that people have when Microsoft's like, "Yep, we're taking this away just to give you a Chat GPT key that no one's going to use." I mean, maybe people will, but Cortana, Microsoft Cortana. That's all I'll say about you. And so I think it's interesting what they're doing until it actually happens, though. I'm not going to make any judgment. And as I said, I'm not as disappointed about this because I've already found workarounds for it, whether that be using something like Sharp keys or Shift F10 where possible. Now, there are some apps that you cannot use Shift F10 in for your applications key alternative, but that's my opinions on that.
One thing that we don't know, though, is will the Sharp keys actually change that key? Could Microsoft actually come up with a way to prevent that?
Well, I suspect they could, but that's not going to prevent you from assigning a different key to your applications key.
Sure.
Like you're not going to, I don't think you're going to lose the application key all around if you are willing to mess around with it. And it would be interesting to see, and I don't have as much experience with it, if Microsoft is able to disable the Chat GPT key from being reassigned in Sharp keys, can you still reassign it in the keyboard manager for Power Toys? And so that would be my first check before I went and assigned a different key to the applications key.
Right. Ashley, what are your thoughts? Does this affect you, or if you're if you're training somebody, does this kind of change the way you think about things, or what are your thoughts?
So me personally, I don't have applications here on this computer, and it's kind of become a pain because Windows relies so much on it that I think it will be disruptive for people who rely on it. I use Shift F10 a lot, but I also know that other people use other tools to reassign that key. But I think for people who are learning screen readers, it will be a thing that people have to get used to because not everyone's going to know how to reassign key to something else. I think it will be useful as far as like the AI features and tools if they have cool things included, but I think it also could be a problem. I'm on the fence.
And why do we need a dedicated key? I don't have that answer. When there's a dedicated Windows keystroke to activate Copilot, is this key supposed to do something different than what Windows C does?
I don't know.
That,
That's a good question.
yeah, very good question. I think it's just for ease of use, and I think it's because it's like I heard on a Twit podcast, and this kind of plays into our episode here about predictions. They said AI would be the next big. It would be the next internet, the next big thing to change computing. And the stat was that the Windows keyboard was it hasn't the Microsoft layout on the keyboard hasn't changed in 30 years since with the change of the applications key. And I kind of feel like that the we're looking at the change of times with AI. And a lot of people say, all of these AI products are going to be niche, but I think we're going to see, anything labeled with AI is going to get attention these days because it's kind of that new internet gold mine. At least that's what the predictions are. What are y'all's thoughts on that? Because I feel like AI has the potential to be something big or something that's going to pass us by, but I kind of am leaning towards something really big with how all of these flavors of large language models and multimodal interactions are happening. So what are y'all's thoughts?
I think AI as we know it now is going to be around for the foreseeable future. And I look at your phone and how right now, comparatively speaking, my iPhone's a dumb phone right this second because it doesn't have some of the advances that some of the AI has. But I think we also I don't think AI is going to go away. I just learned about a couple of AI tools now that are going to make my life as a podcast producer a heck of a lot easier because AI is jumping in to pick up the slack where I don't necessarily want to do it or I don't have the knowledge to do it. I I hope the letters AI or the word, however you want to say it, I hope that becomes out of our language and our devices just become smart and AI isn't what is behind that, if that makes sense. What about you, Ashley?
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's gonna be big, and I think, as people start to play with it and experiment and try to build new things, it will become a household tool, and it would help in so many ways. Going back to the Windows key for a second, because this is the way my brain works. Why did they choose the applications key? Why not choose the print screen button or the
Mm,
pause button?
yes, the pause button. That would have made a lot more sense. And do we know for sure that this is what Microsoft is doing, or is this a rumor? Because I have not read any of the news articles.
I believe that this is something that they are doing because it's been reported on by, Paul Thurrott and other places that this is a change that is happening.
Gotcha.
And to what y'all were saying, AI has been, or what you were saying, Michael, AI has, been used as the marketing buzzword to get people's attention. But if you notice that Apple never uses that term, they never use AI.
Nope.
They'll use machine learning. They'll use computer vision. They'll use, object detection, but never AI. And I think they're trying to set that trend, whereas everybody else is trying to use AI as the pay attention to us word.
Right. And Apple's been using machine learning and all those other words for years. And a lot of people, older generations or whatever, they're gonna think artificial intelligence and just pass it off as some fake nonsense on the internet. Whereas if you use something that's more relatable, they might consider using it.
Well, and then we add the more confusing term to the mix, the artificial general intelligence. Is that something that we think we're going to see this year? I don't think.
No. I've heard artificial general intelligence a couple of times, and I absolutely hate that. But like, what's general intelligence? What does that even mean?
Right?
Well,
Like,
the term is supposed to represent when AI becomes smarter than humans, almost the next step where that it can do things on its own past the LLM stage. And some people have used it to represent awareness, but I don't think that AGI is awareness. It's just kind of the next step in the evolution of artificial learning and machine learning.
there's a show. I don't necessarily like the hosts, but it's called AI Name This Show. And they talk about what they think is going to happen with AI. And I think it's really interesting that at the end of 2023, There was a lot of talk about wearable AI. What's the name of that pen? Someone remind me.
Isn't it
Humane,
just the AI pin?
the humane pen is what I was
Humane
thinking
is
of.
who makes it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
specifically that one, like that's interesting where that's going. There's also the rewind device, which records your life pretty much and uses AI so you can go back and ask questions and observe stuff like that. So I think wearable technology and AI are going to be kind of merged in 2024. It'll be interesting to see where that goes. I have this Apple Watch on my right wrist that is only as smart as Siri, and I'm like, man, if Siri had a little bit more AI smarts, just to use the buzz term, then maybe my watch would be a lot more useful. Very interesting times.
Good point.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna kind of start to see this folding of AI into hardware, and I think we're gonna start seeing more offline AI uses. Private. There's that. I think it's called Private LLM. It's an app you could get for
Yep.
the iPhone, iPad, and Mac, and it's pretty cool. And you could play with AI offline, which is fun. You have to kind of know what each LLM does. They're terribly named, but it's neat that you could play with LLMs offline and see what they do. But I think we're going to see more services go to that, right? And we're going to start to see companies look at how they can cut costs on AI use.
Well, and it doesn't help. And Ashley, interrupt me if you just want me to shut up for a minute so you can talk. But it doesn't help that last week the announcement of the OpenAI ChatGPT store was announced. And where is that going to lead people to? Because I have no problem with paying $20 a month for ChatGPT Plus, because I use ChatGPT Plus as if I was to hire an assistant and be able to work with that assistant and get the information I need. And for me, the time that GPT saves me when it comes to writing emails or when it comes to creating content or communicating with people, because if believe it or not, I am a horrible communicator. I can talk all day long, but I suck when it comes to writing emails or follow up or other things like that. And I think GPT has helped a lot with that. And with GPT being able to be encompassed into both custom GPTs and additional products, I think that's going to really expand that growth. So maybe AI will grow 2024. Oh, well, definitely AI will grow in 2024.
Yeah, I think AI will grow, and yeah, you're right. I mean, it would be if GPT is used, by people like an assistant, they will see a lot of use out of it, and that, to see kind of how people apply it is cool.
So, we keep hearing every few months AI is getting so smart, it's going to start taking jobs away from people. Do you guys think that that's really a thing? Because I personally don't. I feel like AI is only extending the possibilities of what we could do in our jobs. What are y'all's thoughts?
I agree. It's not like there are reasons to keep humans doing jobs. AI is only as smart as it can be, and until it can be, you know, completely error-proof, then that would be when humans would worry about losing their jobs. But I don't think it's going to make people lose their jobs.
Yeah, I agree. As a customer service professional, that's the biggest industry that people say AI is going to take over your jobs. AI is going to take over your job. So there's not going to be any customer service people. Then I pick up my phone and I call AT&T. And AT&T has a great AI for their voice system, and it does everything. Like I can speak to it. It does a really good job, and you can observe that. And then you give it an edge case scenario. I need a return label for my phones that I upgraded at Best Buy. And it's like, what? I don't understand what you're saying. I think that's going to be a problem for a while. So I don't think it'll take away jobs. I think it will shift as Michael said, shift the way that we do our jobs to make us more productive. Hopefully. Now there are going to be companies out there, and I'm not going to name them, but I can think of some big companies that will say, oh, we don't need chat, or we don't need chat agents anymore. We got Chat GPT. We can implement that into our website. I think that's where failure will be observed in some instances.
Yeah,
Right,
and
because
oh,
if
go ahead.
it's as if it if it's working as customer service, what if it doesn't have all the resource? case scenarios that people call in for customer service for.
And
then it's just stuck in a loop.
empathy can be taught, but true empathy, I think, would be difficult for, at this time, AI to be able to observe.
Agreed. And the whole thing of, does the AI that you have agree, will it hallucinate and contradict your company values? Think about that. Think about a customer typing something to a chatbot on a website. And what if it says, well, as a chatbot, I don't believe that company X is representing what you're trying to do in this project. Think about those kind of edge cases where the AI just hallucinates and goes, well, I guess you could say breaks the fourth wall, kind of goes out of character and does not represent what the company is really trying to put forward.
I read a post on Mastodon the other day about an AI tool that gave someone explicit directions to be able to enable a feature on their account. The person followed those directions and the button did not exist where they were supposed to go. So they then finally got a hold of a chat, like an actual human. And the human's like, yeah, well, you can't do that. And so the post on Mastodon was, it should be that if AI tells me that I can do something or your app or service provides this, then you should have to do that. And I think that's going to be an interesting thing for companies to mess with, to have to deal with in the future.
Yeah.
When AI is saying, yeah, you can do this. And then you actually go to do the thing on the tool and it's like, no, you can't. We don't have that feature. So I think that's where, I don't like the word hallucination, but I think that's where hallucinations will get AIs in trouble.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
And it may be that a person, a certain, that feature does exist if you have a certain access level, who knows? But yeah, it's that's pretty interesting. And this episode isn't all about AI, but AI is such a big part of our culture, our part of our technology infrastructure now, that it has to be talked about. Next week is I don't think CES has started yet, but
no, it starts on Tuesday, I think.
On Tuesday, and we always learn a lot from there. And we'll have probably a wrap up show on here on the podcast to talk about it. We've had some great, funny discussions about that, let me tell you, in previous years. But, and the outtakes show it. But I think we're going to start to see, we'll always see TVs at CES. We'll always see, we know that we're going to see new Galaxy phones this month, the S24, which is rumored to look like the previous year, the S23. But do you guys think that we're going to see a change in smartphones this year? I mean, I hear there's a change rumored in the iPhone lineup to how it looks and feels, even more so than the 15. But do you guys think we're going to see anything in the main, like Android or iPhone, that's just going to be like, whoa, that's incredible?
I think Bard's going to come to Android Assistant. And I think that hopefully will make, does Android Assistant have a name? I don't
Google
think it
Assistant
does right now. I think it's just Google Assistant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
For some reason, I was thinking add a name. Anyways, so Bard coming to that, I think is going to make that a lot more useful. It's interesting that you brought up CES because there's a lot of talk about accessibility playing a huge role in CES, and I think that's a whole nother path. But I think there's room for accessibility and AI to play together too. But to answer your question, no, I don't think we're going to see huge changes in the form factor of phones. Ashley?
No, I don't think so. Maybe Microsoft will add a chat GPT button to their phones, but no, I don't think so.
Yeah, maybe they'll put
they'll make the home button of the Microsoft launcher on Android be your chat GPT button.
Right. Well,
Right.
That actually does bring up a cool idea, though, because Samsung and Microsoft do partner a lot. So I wonder if we will see a Copilot button in One UI on Samsung this year.
AI is supposed to be a big push for the S24. So I wouldn't be surprised if something like that is coming. And or because Samsung and Google have worked well together. So is there going to be a Bard button?
Mm-hmm. Or maybe a customizable AI button where you could Copilot or Bard. That's actually, hey, that's our first major tech prediction for this year.
We will see on the
That would be
17th.
cool. You
Mm-hmm.
choose what you want.
And maybe they will. Well, some Samsung phones had the Bixby button, and I wonder if that's going to get upgraded. So many possibilities, especially on Samsung, right? I think Google has, they're gonna in the Pixel, they'll just leave that hold the side button, kind of like with S Lady on the iPhone. But we had the Bixby button. They took that out, and I think you can hold the side button on Samsung phones. I haven't played with that much. I liked Bixby because of the gamification. As you used their assistant, you got points, and I really always like
Oh, really?
gamification. Yeah,
I didn't know that. That's cool.
yeah. And you could even use those as reward points as you got more of them too. So it wasn't the best assistant, but the more you did with it, you would get points for it. And I always thought that was a very neat feature on some of the Samsung phones. Yeah. So we will see as we go through the year if we get an AI button on Android. And Michael, I think you've talked about this some on the podcast. You're going to be looking at Android a little more. Do you think that there's going to be something? Well, I know one thing I'd like to see is better Braille display support on Android with TalkBack and things like that. But is there anything else you would like to see happen with Android? I guess, better support for, talking to iPhones is always on my list, but,
He's looking at you, Beeper Mini. Anyways,
you know it.
I think I would like to see, and full transparency, I have not used a Pixel since the 5 or 6. I don't remember. It might have been the 6. I think it was the 6 Pro's last one that I used. The typing experience with Android has always been painful for me. So I'd like to see a better typing experience. Although, to be fair, Android's Braille input is freaking amazing. But the typing experience and then the web browsing experience, anything to be able to improve web. What does Android call them, Michael? Web views. Anything to improve web views inside of applications, I think would be advantageous for TalkBack users because a lot of apps rely on web views to display or give you content to run their app, really. So I think that would be a nice improvement. Do you use Android, Ashley?
No, I tried it for a while and then I didn't get along very well with it, so I switched back to iPhone.
Yeah, I always keep coming back. We'll see if that's the case this year. I'm going to try to spend most of this year on Android as my goal. I have this fancy thing that is not my pick, but it's this box that has a very small and, believe it or not, Michael, round watch that I'm excited to play with too when I get my Android phone to see how that works. And that's the Pixel Watch. And I want to see how that experience is compared to the Apple Watch. My first initial thoughts are, my wrists are bigger than I thought because the band won't even fit around my wrist.
Oh no. Yeah, I want to see. I've gotten to see I kind of like the round watches, but I also am just so used to my Apple Watch, the big hunk of metal that's on my wrist, the Ultra, which I kind of want to see a different design on the Ultra in September. Like I like this design, but I feel like they could do something a little more sleek. So I'm kind of hoping they do that. But I do think that Android, I don't think we're going to see that big of changes on it this year. I think we're going to see, software changes. Obviously, Google I/O will be in May, as usual, I'm sure. And then, we'll know what's in store for Android. Of course, last year at Google I/O, we had the AI drinking game, right? Where it was, how many times did they say AI at that one event? I think there were some YouTube videos where they actually did combine them all and put them in a little,
there was. Yeah, where they just took the AI mentions and just clipped them all together.
Yeah.
I don't have the time or energy to do that, but man, that would be a fun audio project.
Right. So we're seeing a lot of, obviously Android's going to be very AI because of software, Google and that kind of thing. I'm kind of wondering if we're going to see more AI with the Echo devices, with, A Lady. They've talked about adding AI to A Lady, but I have not seen it. Or if they are,
Nope.
that's.
Nope, it hasn't been pushed to the best of my knowledge, unless you're a beta user. And
Mhm.
this should, for international listeners, this should just be coming to North America for right now. But yeah, they talked about it at their, I want to say, September or October event about AI coming to the Smart Assistant ALEXA, and I haven't observed it, but that'll be interesting. Another prediction for 2024 that I think is going to be interesting is I'm guessing that a lot of these mainstream apps that we use, Uber, Amazon, maybe not Amazon, but I think there's going to be a lot more combining of mainstream tools and apps into one. Because, hold on. I
Because
just knocked
drastic.
my entire coffee cup off my desk.
Oh no.
But see, my father-in-law loves me, so he bought me this giant coffee cup that has a really good lid on it, so I don't have to worry about spilling stuff because he knows me a little bit. Anyways, I think a lot of these mainstream apps that are available are going to combine into one, because I don't know about you guys, but I used to 5-10 years ago download all these apps just to try out these new apps, and now I'm like, if I have 2 pages of apps on my phone, I want to reduce that as many way possible. So I could honestly see there being a lot of combining of mainstream apps to make it so you only have to download 1 or 2 apps, etc. And Elon
Well,
wants to be that one app. Just saying.
right. Well, you bring that up, and I think we're going to see that. We had an iACast episode about this with streaming, right? And we're starting to see this with Disney, Hulu and Disney becoming one.
Yep.
Max is looking into purchasing Paramount, which a lot of people think is a bad idea, which it kind of is, but one app, and then Netflix. So
Mhm.
we'd be back down to three main streaming apps that we'd have to pay for, and Amazon, and Amazon. But so
Yeah,
four,
I have sore feelings about Amazon. Don't get me started on that one. Oh, you're going to pay me for Amazon Prime. But guess what? If you want no ads, you got to pay me $3 more a month.
right, right. I'm there. I'm with you. I feel like we pay a lot for Prime already.
And we know it'll go up in a couple of months like it always does.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm. Every
that's what
time.
that's what they do. And so I'm wondering, what's the breaking point? When will people say enough's enough? And I think that's why a lot of these services are losing revenue, is because they keep going up in price. And so that's why they're combining. So
I think people are already getting to that point. They're already, they cut the cord, they switch to apps to save money, but now the apps are costing more and more money, and there's like 17 billion apps for streaming,
right.
Netflix, Disney, and Hulu, and all the things. So I think, and then the prices are, for all those subscriptions are about up to the place where they were when they were paying for TV. So I think, people are getting to that point where they're just like, we're done. We're gonna start cutting out some of these subscriptions.
Hmm. And then I think sometimes they're starting to make it to where you have to have the stream. Like, I'm a huge Doctor Who fan, and Disney is now doing Doctor Who. And to watch those specials, normally I'd say, well, I'll just watch it on Disney and buy them to rewatch on Apple or Google or wherever I buy my content. You cannot buy them. You have to watch them on Disney Plus, which I think is a shame. I kind of think that maybe they'll come out with Blu-ray and the digital versions later, but I feel like keeping people from buying a season pass like they have in the past from BBC and all that it's people like to have their content, or at least people like me. And so I feel like streaming, we're going to be seeing, like Michael was saying, streaming kind of changing the market in that fashion. But even going to, like you said, Uber, it'd be kind of neat if we had Uber Eats and Uber in one app, that way you only have to have the one Uber app. That would be nice. Or, you could Uber drive or Uber or ride Uber in one app instead of having to have all these other apps. And like you said, kind of combining that down and then eventually making them multimodal where you can interact with it with voice or text or, how you do interacting with apps on their own. I think we're going to see more of that this year as well, right? Where we can interact with our services in different ways. So,
Right.
oh, go ahead.
Being in the accessibility field a little bit, and with Unmute and all the other content that we produce, we try to meet the listener/consumer at the level that they're at. And for some listeners, that is produce audio, but we're also trying to do, granted, machine learning/AI generated transcripts, because we realize there's some people who have hearing loss and they'd rather just read the transcripts in Braille, but still consume the content. And I think being able to produce high quality, because you've been able to produce things in a lot of different formats for quite a while, but being able to produce high quality multi-format content is going to be huge for 2024 too.
I agree. So do we think we're going to see new headphones? An improvement on like AirPods or anything like that this year?
I think so. I think AirPods and Pro and Max will see some improvements to their different audio settings.
Yeah, I think that we just got new hardware for the Pros. I think we'll be set on those for a few years, but I think the Max will see new ones, and maybe the AirPods 4 will come out. Those would be pretty nice. I will buy them and the new Maxes because I like the AirPods Max. And I feel like if they bring out new Maxes, they have to do more than just update the audio codecs, which in the audio hardware inside. They need to add, some new features to them to justify that price range.
And hopefully change the style of the case that they came in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people were having trouble with that case for a while.
Yeah, I mean the case is fine. It's just it's not a very good case. It's just this is where you put your headphones. And the rumors are we're going to get new iPads this year, new iPad Pro models. Do you guys think we're going to get anything to warrant getting new iPads? Like, when the M1 iPads came out, that was like, oh yeah, this is the time to get a new iPad. But if we get an M3 iPad, does that say, oh yeah, that is the one to get if you haven't upgraded in a while? Because, well, for me, I have not updated my iPad in 2 years, which is rare for me. I usually update every year, but I didn't see the need, right? So do y'all think we're going to see a change to the iPads that say, this will be good?
I'm sorry. I was trying to use Bard to learn how to use this orbit, and it told me a completely incorrect keystroke, and I was trying it, and it's like, press and hold .5 and spacebar to get into edit mode, and you'll hear the orbit say edit. And I'm like, the orbit doesn't talk, Bard. Anyway. What was your question, Michael?
Do we think that the iPads will change enough this year to warrant people upgrading? Like,
yeah,
I have the M1 iPad. Do we think that the new Pros coming out possibly in March will be like, oh yeah, this is the one to get?
I don't think we'll see it, but I'd like to see a foldable one.
Here we go with the foldables.
No, no, no.
So why do you think why a foldable? Why do we think a foldable would I've just never seen the point of a foldable personally. I mean, I know people love foldables, but everybody wants a foldable iPhone, and I've just never been that in. Like I saw the foldable in a store a few months ago, and I'm like, oh, that's neat. I don't know that I'd ever use it, but so why a foldable?
So I've never been an iPad user. I don't see the value in carrying two different devices or using two different devices for myself. But the time that I had to use an iPad for project that I was involved in, it was kind of nice to be able to have a little bit more real estate. So I was thinking, man, it would be nice to have my phone, just use it like I normally would, fold it up, put it in my pocket. But if I need something bigger, unfold my phone, and there's an iPad that's bigger. I get the desire to not like it. And honestly, Apple's not going to give us a foldable. I think there'd be a lot more rumors about that before now than what there actually is. But it would be a form factor change for both the phone and the iPad. And I think that could be really interesting to see where that evolves to.
So would that be the Apple Fold?
Yes. Or the pad phone. It'll be called the pad phone.
Pad phone.
The phone pad.
Well, well, okay, I think they go with that because they have to put Apple before the beginning of everything. So yeah. Apple phone pad. You hear it, you've heard it here. That's a prediction, the Apple phone pad.
If this statement comes true, because Michael and Ashley don't want it, Michael should buy me one to play with.
Goodness. I could see if it were really cool and you could use it for both, like that would be interesting, but I don't think it's gonna happen. And to your other question about iPads, I just upgraded to an iPad Air, so I wouldn't upgrade this year unless there was ability to do multi-user accounts.
Yeah, and Apple has done sneaky things like the current M1 through M2 iPads should support multi-user accounts if they ever bring that. But they'll try to say you need an M3 iPad to support this.
But yeah, I want that money.
But that is the one feature that I would really love on an iPad. Like, multi-user accounts. The Mac can do that. And if they want the iPad to be the equivalent computer, that's kind of the next step for the iPad.
Yeah, especially since it's advertised as an alternative to a computer.
Right. And I mean, Android tablets and other devices, I believe, can do that as well. So that's one thing that the iPads need. What are your thoughts, Michael? Does the iPad need multi-user support?
Oh yeah, yep, sure does. Like hands down, because we won't buy multiple iPads, or in the education environment, for example, schools could buy one iPad and students could switch on and off with them. And right now, you have to have an iPad dedicated for a specific student if that's how you want to use it in that scenario. And right. Apple does not give you that flexibility, which I wish they did.
Agreed. I do feel like there are certain ways the iPad is still just a large iPhone.
I have breaking news.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Dot 5 is apparently the middle key on the left side of the keyboard.
No. What?
According to Bard.
This will be a very interesting episode for people to listen to see where AI is as a measurement for 2025.
Right. And that's I'm thinking about, like, man, do we really want AI to be in control? Because that is wrong. I'm like, you're wrong. Actually, dot 5 is on the right hand. It's like, I apologize. You're correct. I'm like, I know I'm correct.
What? How do you know you're correct when you just said that? Right. That's bad.
Wow.
Anyways.
Wow. And I guess is that even running Gemini yet or no?
I don't think so. I don't think so. Now, my Bard account, just for full transparency, is a Google Workspace account. So I think it is behind what might be the general public, because that's typically how Google does it, unless the admin goes in and sets you up for like beta tools to be able to get released to you. So I think it's just the standard Bard, but wow.
That's never made sense to me that Google Workspace gets things before Gmail users.
You mean after?
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
After.
Yeah. Or you can't use Google Assistant with your Google Workspace account in the calendar unless you go in and specifically enable that, because that makes sense. Or here's the more important one. See, you got me on a rant, Michael. Did you know if you sign in primarily on an Android device as your first account with your Google Workspace account, guess what? You can't back your Android phone up.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It sucks.
Well, and even passkeys came later to Workspace.
Yeah.
So, and I'll tell you, you guys just did an episode on passkeys on Unmute, I believe, correct?
Yeah, Demosy and I did.
Yeah, and now every time I log into my Google account, it says passkeys not. It shows it grayed out and it shows that it's not available. I'm like, no device is available. Is what it says. I'm like, okay, what is the use of this if I can't use it?
That's interesting.
It is.
Were you able to use passkeys in the past
I
and then it just
was. Yep.
stopped?
Hmm.
Oh yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That's
I'll have to
interesting.
investigate that. But for a user that's not technically inclined, for that to just happen
Yeah.
is not good. You know.
Yep.
So very interesting stuff. And we know we're going to get the Vision Pro. Are y'all interested in what that is going to bring, or is it kind of still version 2?
I think for me, version 2, I would be interested in seeing what it does and how it works. But for me, looking forward to seeing, how it is now and then how it gets improved next year or whenever.
Yeah, same here. I just recently got into wearable technology and have a pair of glasses with a camera on it. And I don't use them as much as I thought I would before I got them. So I don't know that dropping $3,500 right now on something that I may or may not use is going to be worth it. So I'm interested to see where developers go with it to see how that increases the value for me.
See, here's one thing with these kind of glasses that I will say. They're great. I've had several pair. I've had the Geordie, the Patriot Viewpoint, and I love them all because they help me see so much better. The issue that I have with them is it takes 2 to 3 minutes just to get where I can look through them for boot up. And that's not very effective when you just want to take them off and put them back, put them down and put them back on. It's like, all right, let me boot this thing up and get it going. You know, if it was something that you could just take out of a bag, put on, and it's ready to go in 5-10 seconds, that's where we're talking, right?
Yes. Yes. Because with the Celeste glasses that I have, the glasses themselves have to be connected to a Wi-Fi network as well,
Mm-hmm.
which is not horrible, but when you're cleaning up devices on your network and you block your glasses from your network, it's like, oh, I can't connect to this. So I have it set up so it connects to my phone's hotspot now, and that seems to be more consistent. But again, it takes 45 seconds to a minute to just turn on so you can start scanning stuff.
Right.
And the battery life isn't there to leave it on.
Right. And that will be the same for the Vision Pro. It has like 2 hours on that battery pack, which is why I always make the joke that I'll buy like 4 or 5 of those. So
4 or
it can
5
get me
battery
through
packs or Vision Pros? Because if you're buying 4 or 5 Vision Pros, then my address is
battery packs. Battery packs. It's if you want to get a whole day out of it and it only works for 2 hours, that's kind of an issue.
yeah.
You're
Although
gonna need a
they
battery
do
pack for the battery packs.
right. They do say you could use it with your Mac. So, maybe I'll just have my big backpack that holds like 4 laptops and just plug it up to a Mac and use that as the battery pack. So I am interested in this just because of the low vision aspect. If it can help me see better, that's where my interest lies in this. So I will be getting one and I will be bringing it to convention this year. I'm going to try to make it to ACB so we can all kind of look around and play with it. So I think this year is going to be a very reactive year. I feel like 2023 was kind of a lot of shifts in technology. We had Twitter becoming X, we had AI becoming on the scene. People are trying to figure out where they want to go for their social media. And I feel like we're going to be reacting to a lot of those changes this year. I think we're going to be seeing people settle down where they want to be, but I'm kind of wondering, do you guys think Mastodon is going to be the next stay the place where we as a community, like as people that are blind and low vision, stay, or do you think that is kind of crumbling, or what are y'all's thoughts?
I think people are gonna stay in Mastodon because they have roots. They're starting to build communities. Other servers are being built around those communities. So I think that as a community and as businesses, people are gonna stay on Mastodon.
Yeah, I agree. Not everyone's going to come over to Mastodon, just like not everyone used X or not everyone used Facebook. But those who do, I think, from what I have observed, have built out that community so they can keep those connections that like OG 2007, 2008 Twitter actually was used for. What are people doing? And if there's a hashtag you want to follow, by the way, hashtag iACast, right, Michael? Am I wrong?
You
Anyways,
got it.
if there's a hashtag people want to follow, then they can go follow that and be connected with people. I think you've solved the problem, Michael. I think where Mastodon might be problematic for some users is the discovery aspect, being able to search for things and find new people to engage with. I'm following 124 people on Mastodon, I think, right now. And if I want to grow that, it's kind of a process to go find new people to follow. And I think that's where there may be a little bit of resistance with Mastodon's growth.
I think I went a little follow happy. I'm following 740 people.
Yeah, but you cheated. You imported a whole group of people. I'm not doing that. But
That was 100 people. That was only 100 out of 740.
I thought it was
No.
500 WordPress users. Okay, good to know.
Well, it may have been. I don't think so, but
either way,
Yeah.
your timeline though is full of updated information, I imagine.
Oh yeah. It updates but you know what? It does not update as fast as other like social like Twitter and other places. It does not change as much, which I'm kind of happy about. And I like the fact that it's not an algorithm, it is a true timeline. Do you guys think that Threads or Blue Sky will pick up any traction?
I
don't
don't
know.
think Threads will, but I don't know much about Blue Sky to make a prediction.
Yeah, I was going to say similar. I don't know enough about Blue Sky. I know Michael offered to give me a code, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not really interested. Like, I don't want to be too spread. I have a LinkedIn account that I don't do anything with. So adding another social media, I think will be not advantageous to help me grow.
I joined because it was a new shiny thing. But y'all know that about me. So
Oh, yes.
if it's tech related, I want to play with it. And one thing, we talked about earlier about Michael kind of looking more at Android soon. One thing I would love to know is if you find a good replacement on Android for shortcuts. And, I think this one thing that I'm going to be concentrating on this year is automation and finding ways to take tedious tasks and make them just work, automatically. And I think that that's a good goal for everybody using technology, is to always find ways to automate so that you can make your life easier.
I'm all about automation.
Mm-hmm. So do you guys have any other predictions that you would like to see for the year? Or do you think we've covered it pretty well? I'd love to hear y'all's comments.
I think we've covered it pretty well from my predictions. I can't think of other things in 2020. I'm interested where accessibility will go with mainstream and accessibility specific tools. It'll be interesting what happens at CES next week.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Well, for me, like you said, I would honestly like to see, and it's been a big thing in the news about technology company, these accessibility companies buying overlay companies. We're not going to go into that whole discussion here because that is a very big debate. But what I want to say is I would like to see AI do more with making things more accessible, being a place for knowledge and helping to automate some of that properly. Knowing what is good to automate with AI tools and programming, not an overlay, but where AI can be used to properly make things more accessible. And the other thing that I would like to see happen is for screen readers to do more to make things accessible, because whether we like it or not, there's going to be inaccessible content. And I think that screen reader vendors, JAWS, NVDA, narrator, voiceover, could do work to say, okay, visually, there's this hamburger menu on this page, and the flicking order, this item is not showing in the flicking order. I'm on the heading, the header logo. I flick to the right. It's not going to that. Well, maybe I need to use some AI tools to figure out that that button is there and make it to where you could click on that. That's where we need to, I would like to see progress be made, where our screen reader tools can help make inaccessible content accessible. I don't want that to be a way to say companies don't have to make things accessible, but that it allows for people to still use websites. Does that make sense? So that's one thing that I would like to see happen. And I think vendors can do that with our technology now.
Yeah, I agree.
So those are some thoughts that I would like to see going forward. And I really think we're going to see companies try to, not just in accessibility, but in tech in general, try to kind of push the envelope, because AI allows us to go past the boilerplate code and write that next best thing, because we can get things done as long as it explains it, as long as it writes good code and doesn't tell you where keys are improperly on a Braille keyboard. So I think that this is going to wrap up this episode, and I'll be curious to know next year if we were right or what we got wrong or where things are going to go. I mean, these are just certain topics that we talked about, but there are going to be so many other areas, and we'll talk about that through the year. So I'm going to be very curious to see where we go, and that's why we do this podcast, is just to talk about technology, have a discussion. So we will be talking more about that in the new year. So I hope everybody out there has a great new year. And as we always do with the end of our episodes, Michael, do you have a pick this time, and where can people find you online?
Yeah, so I'll keep mine in relation to the podcast content today. I'm going to pick Mac GPT. So this is specifically for Mac users. It's a downloadable app that I believe is $20 now. And you can either connect it with your API key, or you can log in with your OpenAI account. If you have GPT Plus, you can chat with ChatGPT right there in your computer. You can also put it on your menu bar or set a keystroke to pop focus into it. And what really makes that nice is your sidebar comes over as well. So if you have custom GPTs that you've pinned to it, you can pin those on Mac GPT, but you can also go back to the history of your chats and see what other things you've talked about. Lastly, you can attach files, which means that ChatGPT can receive photos, and you can send that right there within Mac GPT as well. There's some additional functionality. Highly recommend it, especially if you're interested in this, because then you don't have to keep a tab open on the Mac GPT website. You can find me on Mastodon Payown, Payown, at unmute.community, and listen to me on Technically Working every Monday and Unmute in your favorite podcast app. Thanks, Michael.
Yeah, and Mac GPT is great. And what I want to know is, can you access your custom GPTs if you have an API key? Like, can you go and grab those? That would be pretty cool. Like with the API, I guess, since when you look at your custom GPTs, are you looking at the ChatGPT website or the Mac GPT native?
So you look at the native Mac GPT window and your custom GPTs show up there. Now, full transparency, I don't use the developer API key. In your OpenAI account, under my account, I believe there's an API key you can add, which, isn't confusing at all, but you can add and sign in with that as well. And I believe if you use that API key, it will pull in your custom GPTs that you have associated with your OpenAI chat.openai account.
Interesting. And again, not confusing at all. Sarcasm. All right. So, Ashley, do you have a pick this time, and where can people find you online?
My pick this week is Todoist. It's a tasks app that helps you be organized and check things off your list. And you can find me on Mastodon at ashleyc.mindly.social.
Fantastic. And my pick this week, there's so many options I could pick from. I'm going to pick, let's see. I've been thinking about this, and it's actually a book series, and we've been talking about it a bit. Actually, no, I'm going to change. I'm so random. I'm going to pick a TV show I've been watching on Disney Plus, Marvel's What If. Fantastic season 2. It's a fantastic season, really cool stuff, and kind of gives you a different side of the Marvel Comics character. So, What If season 2, fantastic. Check it out on Disney Plus, and good stuff. So you could find me online as Mike Doise pretty much everywhere. I'm Mastodon, Mike Doise at techopolis.social. That's MikeDoise at techopolis, techopolis.social. You can email me at mikedoise at icloud.com, and I'm on Facebook at all the places. Thank you guys so much for being here. This has been a great episode. You can find us on our website, iacast.net. We have a Discord server that's been published online on Mastodon. So look for my post about that, and we'll put it in the show notes here. So you can come join and talk to us and even listen and chat while we do some of our podcast recordings. So it's all fantastic. We also have some new content coming out. We're changing the radio station, so we're keeping it fresh. So you won't have to listen to content 6 months old anymore. So all new things, and we hope you guys come back for episode 203 of the podcasts. Thank you, Michael and Ashley, for being here. Ashley, it's good to have you back with us. It's always cool to talk to you on the podcast, so thank you for being here, and we will see you all next time on another iACast. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to the iACast. We hope you enjoyed the show and found the conversation to be insightful and informative. If you have any feedback or comments, we'd love to hear from you. Please send us an email at feedback@iacast.net. You can also follow us on Twitter at iACast Network to stay informed about new episodes and other updates. Don't forget to check out more great podcasts on the iACast Network, iacast.net. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.